Are the Glock 45 MOS, aka the 19X, and the Sig Sauer P320 XCarry, aka the M18, the two best duty quality SHTF pistols on the market right now? I say yes. If you want to have a pistol for SHTF scenarios, these two are probably the best options available at this point in time. At least that's my opinion. So let's talk about as to why. We'll get into the specifications, we'll get into pros and cons of each model, and we'll get into the differences so you can get an idea as to which one might fit better for you. But at least right now, in my opinion, these two handguns are probably the best you can do when it comes to quality, affordability, and reliability for an SHTF scenario, as well as logistics, which is extremely important for that type of situation. Now, before we get started here, just be aware that I am not a professional shooter, so any of the B-roll footage you see in this video is just me doing my best to try to be more improved. And at the same time, if you like content about SHTF scenarios and you also like firearms, then hit the subscribe button below because it helps to grow the channel, and I really appreciate all the support we get here. So let's do a close-up of each of these pistols and let's talk about what really makes them so good for SHTF scenarios. Okay, so here we have the Glock 45 MOS and the Sig Sauer P320 XCarry Legion. They're both modern polymer frame striker fired double stack 9mm pistols. And one of the main reasons I chose these two as your best options for SHTF pistols is because of the fact that they win in the logistics game. Understand that Glock has a gigantic aftermarket and it's one of the most popular handgun platforms on the entire planet. So for that reason, you can get magazines, parts, and even accessories like holsters very easily for these guns. So that could be a game changer in a long-term SHTF scenario. And with the Sig P320, it was recently adopted by the US military through the M17 and the M18 models, and many law enforcement agencies around the country are also starting to carry P320s. So you're getting a lot of these handguns out in the field with lots of parts and lots of magazines and lots of everything else you might need to keep those guns up and running. So that's one of the main reasons I chose these two pistols. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about specs. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with the Glock 45 MOS. We'll unload it, make sure it's safe. Okay, we are good to go there. Now, this is a Gen 5 Glock 45 MOS. Gen 5 means it has a match-grade barrel and a slightly upgraded trigger. This particular model has a Trijicon RMR 3.25 MOA dot on top and a Streamlight TLR1 HL light on the bottom. I like red dots for my SHTF pistols because they help me reach out a little bit further and be more accurate, and I also get on target a little bit faster. And then the light is, of course, for positive ID in a dark scenario. Now, you can see I also have Trijicon suppressor height sights on here because if my optic goes down, I can still use my iron sights, which are tritium, so I can still see them at night as well. So you have backup options and backup plans because you're prepping for SHTF, right? Now, the Glock 45 is set up like the Glock 19X. Basically, it has a short Glock 19 slide on top with a full-size Glock 17 frame on the bottom. And that gives you a full capacity of 17 rounds while allowing you to save a little bit of weight and possibly draw from a holster easier or maybe ride in a vehicle a little bit more easy. And I do like this configuration, although the flashlight kind of mitigates some of that length savings now, doesn't it? Either way, it does save a little bit of weight, and the barrel length difference doesn't seem to make a huge effect on 9mm terminal ballistics. So this particular model has a 4.02 inch barrel. It is 1.34 inches wide, as you can see right here, and it has a 7.44 inch overall length. So pretty compact size for having 17 rounds and being very, duty capable. This one weighs 26.7 ounces. Now, I weighed it with the optic and the light on it with no magazine in it, so that way you can actually see what this exact setup would weigh, because it's very similar to the P320, but you'll see that difference here in just a minute. And this has a trigger safety. This is the way Glock likes to do things. They put that little dangler here in the trigger, which you have to depress in order to pull it. And then once that's depressed, it can pull it. So it's the only safety mechanism on the gun, but it does exist there. So, like I said, Glock 45 MOS, very good handgun, comfortable to shoot. Maybe not my favorite just because of the grip angle and whatnot, but that's all a personal preference. Either way, Glock is probably one of the only guns I would trust right out of the box without even having to think twice about whether or not it's going to be reliable or shoot. The other thing to keep in mind is that this runs about $650, and the Glock 19X, which is, like I said, the military application they sent in for the handgun program, costs just about exactly the same. So the only difference is that with the MOS, you get the optics mounting plate, and the civilian version has a couple of other things internally that are maybe, I would just say, more beneficial. So that's why I went with this over the 19X, even though I like the color and the look of the 19X. This one is better for magazine compatibility and the fact that you have the optics plate. So huge win there. All right, now let's switch over to the Sig Sauer P320 XCarry Legion, which we have right here. Go ahead and unload it, make sure it's safe. Okay, so this is the XCarry Legion configuration, which has a little bit of differences between your standard M18, which is more what the Glock 45 would be like, but we'll talk about those here right now. This has a 4.6-inch threaded barrel. Now, a standard M18 or standard P320 XCarry would have a 3.9-inch barrel, so that'd be a 0.1-inch difference between that and the Glock 45. And this still has the same setup as the Glock 19X or the Glock 45 with a full-size frame and a compact slide, which I do like because it does save you a little bit of weight. I get a full grip on there because I have larger hands, and you get the full 17-round magazines that fit flush. So I really do appreciate this type of setup, which has been very popular over the last few years. This particular one has a Romeo 2 optic on top, which is from Sig Sauer. It has a 6 MOA dot with a built-in rear notch, which does help if my sights were to go down. And then I still have the suppressor height front sight on the front there, which allows me to have that backup sight redundancy you might want in an SHTF scenario. And then I also have a Surefire X300U on the front of the gun there as a light, which is very bright, super durable. And honestly, even though it's very expensive, I'm not sure it's really worth as much as it costs compared to the Streamlight TLR1 HL. The Streamlight's a really nice light and it does a good job. But if you want extreme durability and ruggedness, then the Surefire might win out only in that regard. So this grip frame is actually a Wilson Combat grip module. The reason I switched out to the Wilson Combat over the TXG that comes with the Legion model here is because the TXG weighs a lot. It has tungsten inserts and it's supposed to weigh a lot. It helps reduce recoil and it makes you a little faster when it comes to follow-up shots for competition and things of that nature. But for a duty belt, it's actually a little too heavy. I found it flopping around quite a bit, and it's just a lot of extra weight you don't need to carry. So I switched out to the Wilson Combat Grip module. It has really aggressive front strap checkering there, as well as back strap checkering, and it feels good, and it kind of forces you to put pressure in the right places of the grip. So I really like this grip module. It saved me a ton of weight, and overall, I think it's a good upgrade for your pistol. Now, one thing that's nice about Sig Sauer P320s is that they're modular. So you can put the fire control unit, which is the actual firearm itself, into any other grip module or whatever you want, which makes things a little bit more comfortable for finding exactly what it is you want. The best you can do with the Glock 45 is change that back strap, which I don't like back straps, so I just left it in its stock configuration. This gun has a 1.6-inch overall width. Now, that's 0.3 inches wider than the Glock 45. So you're gonna have a little bit more weight, and it is a little bit wider, so you have to consider that. And it has an 8.1-inch overall length, which is a little bit longer, but it has a 0.6-inch longer barrel because of it being a threaded barrel. So keep that into consideration based on this particular model versus like an M18 or something, which is gonna be pretty much the same with a 3.9-inch barrel. That being said, this one weighs 29.7 ounces, whereas the Glock 45 in its configuration right now weighed 26.7 ounces. So a 3-ounce difference, which really isn't a whole lot, and that can be a lot of different factors, including the light or the optic or who knows what it is, but at the end of the day, it's not a big difference. They weigh about the same. This gun has no safety at all. It is the trigger that's your safety. Either you pull it and it goes off, or you don't and it doesn't. So that's something to keep in mind. You can get these with a manual safety, and the military's version of the M18 has a manual safety. So if you want a manual safety, it's very easy to get in the Sig P320, but if you don't want one, which I don't really necessarily feel I need one, then you're good to go. And this gun in particular, the XCarry Legion, comes in at $999 in general. It's a very expensive gun, but you can get the M18, which is going to be pretty much the same as the Glock 45 or the Glock 19X, for $650, which is exactly what the Glock 45 MOS or the Glock 19X actually cost. So really, at the end of the day, they all cost around the same. This is just an upgraded version of the standard P320 XCarry. So you get what you pay for. This comes with some extra features and things of that nature, but at the end of the day, they're very similar firearms. So let's just talk about some of my final thoughts and which one I prefer and give you some ideas as to why that is. All right, so understand that both of these pistols are extremely good options for any type of SHTF or duty use. They're great pistols. 9mm is a good way to go, and these are both extremely reliable and accurate handguns. I really can't say anything negative about either one, although I know what you're all wondering, well, which one do you like better, Magic? Well, I will tell you, honestly, I like the P320 better. I shoot it better, it feels a little bit more comfortable in my hands, and part of that's the grip angle that Glock kind of forces you to deal with. You either like it or you don't. I will say the P320 is a little bit more comfortable for me, and I also like what Sig Sauer is doing in the sense of innovation and offerings from the factory. Glock doesn't offer a whole lot of options. I can't buy this gun in this type of configuration from the factory, but you can get Sig P320s with optics already mounted on them. You can get different types of slides with cuts in them for lightning, or you can actually get compensators or all kinds of things. Like I said, this was an XCarry Legion, which gives me a skeletonized trigger, which gave me the magwell and TXG grip module. It gives me the suppressor height front sight and all kinds of stuff you don't get with a standard Glock. And in fact, this still came with your standard Glock polymer sights, which are white notch, terrible factory junk sights. I hate Glock factory sights, I'm not gonna lie. And at the same time, all the mounting and everything on these MOS plate systems seem to require some type of adapter plate or sealing plate regardless of what you do. So, at the end of the day, I like the P320 better, and because the military has a contract with Sig now, and because law enforcement is moving towards Sig Sauer P320s as their sidearm of choice, I could foresee that this will eventually possibly overtake Glock in the sense of aftermarket and civilian use around the country. Either way, though, you can't go wrong with either one, and there's a reason why I have both. Although I might like one a little bit better than the other, I would never say anything negative about a Glock, and having one in my safe makes me feel good, makes me feel comfortable. I know if I get up with my mag and they all have Glocks that I can run the same magazines and the same parts that they're running, and at the same time, like I said before, even though I like the P320 better, if you had to pick one to buy from a store right now, never clean, never look at it, never do anything with it, and pull it out and use it, I would have to bet my money on a Glock over just about anything else that's out there. And honestly, that's just why there's still really good options for just about anything you can think of that you might need a pistol for. So hopefully this video gave you some things to think about. Hopefully you guys already have some handguns like this, but if you don't, these are two great options, and if you have any other questions for me, leave it in the comments below. And if you have questions about the configurations or the other accessories or optics or whatever else are on these, leave that in the comments too. Hopefully we can have some good discussions down there. I appreciate every single one of you. And without anything else to say about the two best SHTF pistols, that's gonna be it for Magic Prepper.